Hi, this is Crystal Blue, and I am with you this evening talking about a monthly reading that I am starting up, also along with my other series. Earth is Magical, It's Elemental, New Sensations, and also Feel to Heal. So I've been quite busy ramping those series up. This reading tonight, as I said, is it's on the heels of the new moon in Scorpio, which is Scorpio's in tarot. It denotes essentially death, but death of what has been, so that transformation and renewal can transpire, which takes resilience. So the resilience card and the Queen of Swords in particular was coming through in its elemental clarifier deck, Oceanic Tarot. And it was also, the Queen of Swords is also front and center in my December 2020 mid-month message that I've already posted as well on Patreon. And you can visit me there by typing in or searching for Blue Christyl, BlueChristyl. So this is going to be a little simpler in terms of the time I spend this evening. I just want to talk briefly about, I ask Spirit, to guide me on the message that needs to come through at this point of the new moon in Scorpio. But of course, I'm also doing it at the beginning of November. I was wrapping up a pretty detailed, very interesting It's Elemental reading number 1, in which I presented 3 different cards, which of course I shuffled and they came out individually, and I created piles of 1, 2, and 3 for each of the cards, and then proceeded to seek the highest, most relevant information also with the clarifier cards. So I think I used at least 8 different decks, mostly Oracle, but also 2 tarot decks. Here, I'm just working with Oracle cards this evening. Again, this is going to be pretty straightforward for this part of the reading. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to end up having to do an extended, because the message that is coming out is strong in terms of lives, lives, right? Lives. So the card that came out is Present Lives, and I shuffled from the Akashic Records Oracle Cards Guidebook. And so for each monthly that I do from here on out, it's not going to be a mid-month message like I was doing on my website, sciencespiritualityuniversity.com, or SSU as I call it. This one I'm going to try to do at the new moon, because that gives you some time to kind of think about the energies that are coming through, and in correlation with moon cycles. We also have a very strong lunar eclipse coming up, I believe on November 19th. A lunar eclipse. I think it's a partial lunar eclipse, but it's in Taurus, and Taurus has to do with our security, agriculture, food, home base, our home security, the basics of life, the basic security that makes us feel secure. And we know there are a lot of troubling things happening in the world and in relation to transportation. So it's going to be a bumpy ride in our present lives on our way to the new earth. Okay, and I talk about this also on my Patreon site in relation to relationships. So it's as if, you know, we're traveling on old rickety boats to a new, more vibrant earth, a new home, if you will, a new planet that's being remade essentially right before our eyes. And that's the magic that I talk about in my Earth is Magical readings as well. Because we are shifting the vibe, quote unquote, on our planet to this new Earth. And so there is confrontation, and you can see protests going on in different countries, including Italy and I believe France most recently, but there's also a lot of turmoil in Australia and, of course, um, Venezuela. So I don't need to list all the locations. You can check on the news and just see how everything is topsy-turvy right now. So our present lives are changing rapidly, and that's what I'm getting at. It's going to be more rapid. Things are going to accelerate and change much more quickly now because of these eclipses. Eclipses come in and eclipse out what is not helping us evolve and move forward in our lives. And so it's fitting that this first eclipse coming up since earlier this year is in Taurus. So I encourage you to watch your favorite astrologer on YouTube and check your natal chart and learn how this is going to impact you, because I don't have it all written out in front of me, but when watching Pam Gregory earlier talking about the new moon in Scorpio, she was saying there's many hard aspects associated with this new moon in Scorpio in relation to Mars, Libra, I should say Mars, Venus, Mercury, Uranus, Taurus. Okay, and there's this, we're transitioning at the end of this year from the North Node, South Node being Gemini, Sagittarius, to Taurus and Uranus. So we're going to have many challenges through these next series of eclipses, but also into 2023 because of this ramping up, if you will, of this North Node, South Node switch to Taurus and Uranus. Uranus is about revolution, quick changes. It's the lightning bolt. It's the Tower card in tarot. And, you know, Taurus is about, I believe it's a fixed sign. And, you know, in tarot, it's the pentacles, right? So, you know, with Uranus coming in and shocking things and change, there's going to be shocking things. There's going to be revelations, of course. With the new moon in Scorpio, there's going to be deep, dark secrets that are going to be revealed more and more as we move through Scorpio season, and also in relation to eclipsing out these troubling things that have been plaguing many of us, which I've talked about incessantly and shared some of my background and what I've dealt with because of those kinds of secrets, because many of these secrets have everything to do with the elite. And they certainly did in my situation, my life as a scientist. So it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. So you're going to need to stay grounded. And again, Taurus, is representing the earth, or Mother Earth, and Venus, which is love. So the way that you can best stay grounded is to be in nature, even during the winter months, and find quiet places to get rest, okay? Through the jolts, through the shocks, through the swift changes, through the secrets coming out. Nobody likes to be on the disfavorable end of a secret, but many of us are, especially in relation to the different types of dis-ease that we're being subjected to because of such secrets. And I'm not going to name any of them here because I'm focusing on this message in a positive manner. But the focus is to be on your present life as things end, and we have new beginnings as the eclipse season helps us move past and move forward. Moving past meaning moving forward to not get stuck in that karmic trench, as I've been teaching, because I've been there too, where I was kind of wondering if I was going to get past it. It's challenging for sure, but along with doing this, you get rewarding soul growth, and you also learn a lot about yourself and what you're really here to be doing on this planet. Okay? And it's not to support corruption and corrupt governments and their secrets. So, and the climate change lies. Okay? So, so take a look at this card and just imagine yourself perhaps walking on this path or sitting on this bench and just taking deep breaths, which I did before I started this intro. And I've said on my other readings too, where I've provided specific chants that you can do. And one of them is Main Padme Hum. Main Padme Hum. Okay? And the Angels of Atlantis cards that I have featured in its elemental reading and some of the other ones that I've given, including I'm pretty sure December 2020 mid-month message as well. Also, I believe I mentioned different chants that you can say to gain some centeredness to help you focus on your present life as one of billions of people on this planet who are here to shift the vibe toward a more healthy way of living than constant dis-ease and destruction and mayhem, essentially. Okay, so I'm going to put this here, and this says believe. So make sure that you stay grounded or get grounded, and that will help you clear your chakras, which I also teach about. There are multiple chakras showing up here, but the two main ones, it's just not surprising to me, is the root chakra, which is the main bottom of the deck card. Okay, and that's number 32, which adds up to a 5, which is about change. So we're changing what's troubling us and is likely buried in our root chakra, which is about past lives also. And hand-me-down beliefs that are, of course, impacting our way of being on our planet, which is bringing about so many protests, of course. When you get down to it, when you do the research and you figure out exactly where this all leads to, well, there's a quote, all roads lead to Rome, and that's essentially what we're uh, combating now in relation to child pedophilia and systemic war and the subjugation of the woman and the child, and all these things are all these secrets are continually coming out, even though we may know about those troublesome issues. What is coming out now is actually really to scour and remove these plagues that are troubling us in our present lives, that have been occurring for decades and even centuries. So right behind the root chakra is the halls of Amenti, number 16, which adds up to a 7, which is indicative of the spiritual journey away from a religion, man-made religion, essentially, and toward more sovereign knowing and being on our planet, instead of doing for pentacles and going around and around on hamster wheels in the 3D in our daily lives. So, because it just brings about a lot of madness, and so that's what I've been teaching, and also teaching the historical aspects of why all these impacts are so intense, and they're going to continue to be intense because Scorpio is the most intense of the 3 water signs, and the water signs are dealing with emotion. Okay, so, and I did want to say too, we are birthing a new golden age, and that involves learning about the mistakes that were made uh, involving past civilizations. The book Guns, Germs, and Steel is a really good starting point to see this, and so is the alphabet versus the goddess. But also understand that prior to Egypt and Greece, Egyptian and Greco-Roman times, it was Atlantis and Lemuria. And I was mentioning in one of my readings this past summer that I have a book about Atlantis and Lemuria. And when I wrote my book, when I was a targeted scientist in California, I was actually automatic writing and downloading a lot of, I was essentially being directed on how to approach the book the way that I did, and that book got blocked by 2014, so I've never been able to publish it. So you can see why, because I was getting really important information that some people did not want to come out. But what I'm getting at here is I was writing actually about Lemuria and also about Sirius. And so there is this cosmic connection in 5D and above down to 3D. And we know this too from looking at certain locations on the planet that align with the stars, including Orion's belt. Okay, so you can watch the Ancient Aliens series to get more detailed information. But what I'm getting at here is it's not surprising to see that this card is coming up right behind the root chakra card, and it's not surprising that Egypt and Atlantis are you know one was evolved as the other one failed. So this card I found when I was cleaning up my room this morning, or this afternoon. I came home and our little puppy had gotten into a lot of things and spread a lot of my cards around and chewed some of my notes and stuff like that. Chewed a few of my Archangel Michael cards. But it was like a message, you know, it was like he was pointing out some things. He's a pretty spectacular little dog. But this is the card that I wanted to show you. One of them that was on the floor, and it's about the Sphinx. Okay, it's number 20. And this says here, the Sphinx energy has always been on Earth and watches over us. The high priest Ra brought it from Atlantis and placed this energy within the statue of the Sphinx in Egypt. Okay, so that's no coincidence. And I didn't pick these cards out. I shuffled them, of course, off camera, but I did not just pick these out and stack them. Okay. This says here, you receive a charge of God force when you think about the Sphinx energy. So relax and accept it now. And one way that you can do that is by chanting. Okay. And you can work with the angels of Atlantis chants, as I just mentioned, to do so. And you can also go out in nature and ground yourself. So this card continues on by saying the Sphinx contains the fifth dimensional or 5D records for Earth, Akashic records, and the information within the crystal skulls. So you are invited to visit the tunnel from the Sphinx to the hollow Earth, a portal of wisdom linked to the ascended aspect of Mars. And Mars entered the constellation Scorpio, also, I believe. So, again, we're revisiting the past, and where a lot of timelines are continuing to collapse. And I'm dealing with this in my own personal life. I can feel it. I can see it. While working in 3D, I'm getting downloads constantly all day today, and I was picking up on all these timelines just within my life and, my family, where I've had many years to complete certain things, and now I can see almost parallel timelines repeating, but it's as if it's a review, okay, because I have to let go of the things that I've dealt with as well, and the secrets that have, impacted me and my generation and my son's generation and generations beyond his that are younger. So that's what I'm saying, the old is dying away and the new is being birthed, and that's this transformation. So it's very fitting for these cards to come out, and even for me to find this on the floor when I come home from work today, at the new moon in Scorpio, which goes into effect full throttle tomorrow, November 4th. And just on the heels of voting in the United States. So it's going to be very interesting to see what transpires as these eclipses ramp up, the eclipse energy, starting with the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. So again, this says, you're invited to visit the tunnel from the Sphinx to hollow Earth, a portal of wisdom linked to the ascended aspect of Mars. From here, you can radiate peace and oneness throughout the universe. And also, I might say, here on Earth that really needs this peace. You can be a warrior, but you don't need to be mean, and you don't need to be harsh and violent So you be a peaceful warrior, right? And this will help rebalance Gaia energy, okay? So that we can shift vibrationally. It's like Pam Gregory said, and it's exactly true, that the new earth isn't a place, it's a frequency, it's a vibration. And you'll know whether you resonate with it or not. If you don't resonate with it, you won't be interested in it. If you resonate with it, you'll want to be there all the time. And that's how I'm feeling almost every morning and every day. 3D to me is, been there, done that. I've evolved. I've had to go through really difficult things, but there was a reason. And just like I wrote in the first chapter of my book, that I was born when I was to the parents that I had at the location where I was born. So, despite the challenges that I've dealt with as a female in human skin on an evolving planet that is struggling, so have I been having to deal with struggles really intensely over several decades. And I couldn't have known this even 15 years ago, but like I've said in my videos, many of them, I knew something was going on. So, so you may also want to say the affirmation here. I connect to the God force within the Sphinx. Okay? And the other chakra besides the root chakra that's showing up here front and center is the crown chakra. So that's essentially the majors, is what I call them on my website. Teaching about the chakras over the past few years. I was actually doing this and naturally doing so, trying to balance my chakras as things got more difficult for me. And it's the same for you and anybody else on this planet, because it's our electrical spine, if you will. And you can visit my website, sciencespiritualityuniversity.com, for the details to help you. But there's more than 2 posts, I believe, about chakras. But there are 2 specific ones that get into just the basic information. And then I list how imbalanced chakras or clogged up chakras can contribute to dis-ease. Okay, so I'm going to keep these on either side of this present lives card to help remind you that you need to more than likely also be more mindful of your chakras and how to clear them so that you can commune as we shift into 5D Earth more so. More people are making this happen, and it's a really exciting time to be on the earth. Okay, behind the crown chakra card number 8, which is about abundance and infinity, like the magician card with the 8 on its side just above the magician's head, we're entering a period of magic, and that's what the new earth is about. It's magical, it's mystical, and that's why I've been talking about the elementals as well as the elements in It's Elemental, my first reading for that series, as well as some of my previous readings. So Spirit wants me to help teach what I've experienced through the trials and the tribulations that I was supposed to go through. This is a 39 card, which adds up to a 12, which again is a 3. So pay attention, keep a journal by you as well, because we're going through these pivotal times as well as portals, dealing with eclipses. eclipse energy. You can learn more from Susan Miller at astrologyzone.com. She's got really interesting information to help you actually cope with the eclipse energies. So you might have some brilliant ideas come through, despite the intensity and challenging energies that are coming out during this time, along with secrets. Truth, more truth is coming out, and it's going to be coming out, in my estimation, more and more about the falsehoods of religion. And this is the stuff that I could pick up on when I was 11 and 12. And that is pretty much what directed me away from the religion, the organized religion where I grew up in Utah, and more toward enjoying nature, being, involved in sports and liking to be out in the environment and playing in the neighborhood. These are the things that I wrote about in the first chapter of my book, Pass Forward. So it's not surprising that eventually I ended up, excuse me, becoming a scientist, environmental scientist, okay? So because religion wasn't cutting it for me at the age of reasoning, and that's what I wrote about, okay? But unfortunately, some people on our planet are trying to force religion down our throats the way they want, and they're couching it under the guise of environment and environmentalism. It's almost as if I could see that this is the direction that some were going to take it. And so Spirit, like I said in other readings, has been guiding me ahead of this evil curve, because it is evil, because behind it is manipulation of science, technology, engineering, math, and humanity. Okay? And they're calling it climate change, but they're actually using STEM approaches and contracts and government funds to steer life as we love it and know it upside down. And I've talked about this spiral before. This is the phi spiral, or, like in nature, they're the phi spiral. You can find it in many different types of things in nature, including flowers, pine cones, etc. And I've talked about that also. I'll try to post that link again in the description box here. But I also talk about this kind of spiral effect in terms of that black hole or dark hole. And that's how, speaking from experience, the more I got closer to these types of individuals plotting and planning this demise under the guise of, oh, this is what we need to do, and it's going to be good for us, and it's better, and we're going to steer society and humanity this direction, it was increasingly controlling and then increasingly dangerous, okay, to my family, and in particular to me as a scientist and a woman, but also to children and my son. So I just wanted to show that these are the many cards that came out, and that's why Spirit has me teaching and mentoring to help people kind of understand just the basics of this as things get more difficult, because as Pam Gregory talks about, as we move into this eclipse, full moon eclipse, and then the Uranus and Taurus North Node, South Node opposition, if you will, I talk about North Node and South Node energies in, I believe, card number 1 for my first It's Elemental reading 1. Okay, because I doused with a pendant that I have. Here it is right here. I doused, and that's pretty much the direction that north to south, slightly off, but that is the direction that this pendant moved when I held it over that card, which was about, it's the equator card. So check that out, and you can see that I correlated it to North Node, South Node relationship. But as I'm saying here, we're moving into the last months of 2021. And then, as I said earlier in this recording, that the Uranus or Taurus Uranus north and south nodes change, or the north and south nodes change to Taurus and Uranus in early January, I believe, 2022. So, as Pam Gregory says in her new moon in Scorpio video, recently posted, I think October 21st, 2021, you can watch that. She talks about how there's going to be a lot of shocking, rapid, startling things changing. And I think most planets or all planets are direct right now. 5 or 6 planets were retrograde for a good part of the spring-summer period, but now things are moving direct again, and that also is going to ramp up and escalate the more quick movement of energy as we say goodbye to 2021 and the first year of that influence of Saturn and Jupiter since the winter solstice that I talk about also in It's Elemental reading number 1. So you can visit some of my readings. I've provided links that actually show that Saturn-Jupiter great conjunction that occurred on December 21st, 2020. And Pluto was very near as well. And Pluto is the scorpionic planet, if you will. So the Plutonian energy is transformative, and that is what we're doing, is transforming from the old world essentially to a new earth. So there's a lot of volatility, and we can see that happening on the streets too. So do get your rest. Stay grounded, as I said. Think of yourself on this path. If you can't find a path like this, go there in your mind. Focus on your breathing. You know, say a chant, an affirmation. I connect to the God force within the Sphinx, or just I connect to the God force, and set your intention that you want to vibe with the new earth instead of being pulled back in the past. So that's essentially what my book was about, is that I realized by revisiting past situations and then making some kinds of agreements that I did not realize were couched in this and steeped in this downward spiral, if you will, in regard to religion and militarism. Gee, I almost lost my life. So it is pretty, it's like a black hole. And so spirit and the universe is helping us usher in this new earth, new moon, and full moon and eclipse and portal, you know, step by step. And so if you visit my website, Science Spirituality Universe City.com, on the right hand side there's an olive green bar. I have archives there, but you can also see my June 2020 mid-month message that I've kept pinned. Even though it's an older message, it's still relevant. When you find it, if it resonates with you, these messages, any that I've done, are essentially timeless also, but I am talking about astrological energy and timing, which is not man-made time. However, it's divine timing. So that's what we're learning more to be like, is to move away from the control structure and the time clocks and all these things. So it's no wonder a lot of people are not reporting to work anymore. It's getting interesting. I did want to show you that this card that came right after the religion card was upside down when I shuffled. And so obviously health and healing is not really part and parcel of the dark forces' interest or intent. So this is your task in your present life, okay? Whoops, jumping out there, is to gain better health and also to heal. And that's how Spirit has been guiding me to help people, okay? And even here, it looks like I've got a similar flower. You can't see it, but I got some sage from the garden before it freezes, and it looks like this too. So I changed up the desk setting. This fabric is correlates well with this need to address and remedy root chakra issues. And you can do that by gaining spiritual advice through readings and even doing Reiki. So if you know a reputable Reiki practitioner, you may also want to gain that information and that help. But you can also visit my website, and I talk about that because Reiki seems to be a really helpful modality to shift away from the darkness, the devil, if you will, the negativity in your body. And we all carry that, right? Because we're constantly absorbing all this negative energy around us in the workplace, even at home. Sometimes, you know, because we do bring things home with us. And then if we watch television, of course, we're not getting the real scoop on things, and that causes anxiety. So a lot of people have a lot of anxiety, but a lot of people don't realize that there's also past life issues that we're dealing with, and we're dealing with other people struggling to clear their karmic past. And so that's what I had to do too. I had to come to that realization. It's not easy, folks, but that's why, you know, the 7 chakras from the root to the crown are essentially being represented here, because these 2 cards are, you know, it's like this in your body. If this is your body, the root chakra is down just below the base of your spine, and the crown chakra at the top of your head, above your third eye chakra. Okay, so we're dealing with a lot of energy, disjointed energy, if you will. So that's part of the healing. We know that we have to be concerned with health in the 3D because of our environmental toxins. And again, I'm an environmental scientist, so I dealt with, you know, water quality standards and you know, protection of the public for water quality as well as water rights, and many multi-million dollar water projects for the conveyance and infrastructure, you know, building infrastructure to convey water across large tracts of land in California. But just know that these where'd it go? These types of people are trying to control not only food, which we're going to be seeing more shortages of because of the manipulations with transportation and Agenda 21, but we're also going to probably see more difficulties involving and more challenges involving gaining access to clean water, just like in third world countries, okay? So yeah, we've got a lot of challenges, and this is why Spirit has me working more and more on what I'm doing as an environmental scientist from a spiritual standpoint, not a religious one, okay? And that involves healing as well as health, so we turn the tide, okay? Instead of going in this downward spiral like a lot of people have gotten caught up in. And right behind health and healing, this card, and this applies to animals, and that's why I'm so passionate about helping animals as well. Because a lot of our animals are being horrifically abused and shot and, you know, made to look as if they're the problem too. Everything else is the problem, but these people causing problems, right? Because of their religious bent or fanatical bent, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. I call them cults, and that's because I've dealt with them, more than one of them. But the animals are not, you know, they're in their natural state. And like I said in card number 3's reading for its elemental, in relation to the zebra only knows how to be a zebra. It's not trying to be a hyena or a wolf. I mean, this is just how nature operates, natural law. It's not trying to steal others' identities and likenesses to gain notoriety. I mean, people that are doing this are often religious fanatics, and they want you to follow them, okay, and their prophecy and all that stuff. And they're, you know, they're the ones that are taking most of our tax dollars, by the way, under the guise of, how should I say this, national security, which is really more of a religion, a religious view of security. It's not actual natural security, because that comes from the higher power. And that's what we're getting back to, is natural law, rather than man-made, made-up laws that benefit and favor only a few. Okay? So Spirit has me providing that kind of inspiration and wisdom from using my background, and I've also gone to law school for a time. So I've been pretty studious, and I've also learned from experience, direct experience, okay? So we want to make sure that the majority of the population makes it through this wormhole, if you will, to this new earth, rather than get stuck in the karmic trench and, you know, suffer unnecessarily so. Okay, so I just want to quickly read the main card for the Akashic Records Oracle card, Present Lives, and then I'm going to sign off. But before I sign off, I'm going to shuffle cards from 2 decks. One is the Past Life Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue and Brian L. Weiss, MD, and the other is Reincarnation cards, Awakening Far Memory by Knowles and LeBlanc. Okay, so And I'll just leave these here for now. So I'm not telling you what to think. I'm merely explaining to you some of the secrets or the nuances of these secrets that you're likely going to realize are going to come out more and more about the environment, about religion, about manipulation of the environment to embed a certain type of ideology that is highly volatile and dangerous. And there are a lot of people following these cults down this downward spiral, and it does take others down, okay? And that's what I was learning, and why I had to essentially leave my career field, science, okay? So, believe in yourself is the message that I'm conveying. Believe in your own sovereignty, your own freedom to think without being confined and constrained and controlled and directed by these types. On my website, sciencespiritualityuniversity.com, there's a link to the universal law of free will. Know it and use it. And I encourage you to read that. That's text, in text form on my website. And the New Earth, let me see, it's a video that I put out this summer. The New Earth or the New World, it's not a competition, is another one. And the 7721 portal reading on YouTube that I posted also on Patreon at, Blue Christyl as my handle. But it is independence, not codependence, okay? Because relying on man-made religion puts you and your family in, believe it or not, in a codependent status, because they want you to believe that they're the prophets and they're the false prophets, okay? And the Bible is warned about that. So I encourage you to, you don't need to be a Bible thumper. I'm not, but I don't cite the Bible all the time, but I have a working knowledge of it. I did have Bible study class during junior high school or middle school. So I have knowledge about it, but I don't just spout out different scriptures, and beat people over the head. I do try to teach how I'm being guided to do so. So with that, the number 28 card I'm going to read about present lives. And then I'm going to shuffle and see what comes out from the past life oracle deck and the reincarnation cards. And then the extended I might do by video, but I might type it up. So we'll just see what kind of time I have. 28, present lives. So that's this card right here. Heal and gain clarity in the garden sanctuary. Create peace and harmony in your present timeline. Activate abundance, health, and happiness. And that's where the number 8 card was coming through here, right? For the crown chakra. And abundance correlates to number 8. And the health card, for the bottom of the deck of the Akashic Records Oracle cards is upside down. So obviously many people are concerned about their health and staying healthy and not getting sick, or not, taking shots that are going to harm somebody internally. So present lives also this card talks about the karma of the day is the focus, not of yesterday or tomorrow. So you want to be mindful of what you're doing today so you don't, and you know, and tomorrow when you may see this, obviously, because I'm not going to post it on YouTube until tomorrow, but you get the gist. The karma of the day is the focus, not what happened yesterday or worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow. So the gist is that you want to be mindful of how you're treating other people and behaving on this planet, because there is instant karma. Karma is coming more rapidly now, and that's part and parcel of these eclipses, these portals, and the new moon, full moon cycles. Be grounded and present and move into action on this project of relationship. Well, I couldn't have said it any better. Be grounded and present and move into action, which we're doing more because a lot of these planets are direct now, on this project of relationship. Okay, so focus on in the now as you create peace and harmony in the present timeline. So that's a very nice message, and you can think about those. You might want to write those 6 different items down, and you can even put this picture image in your mind or take a picture of it and meditate on it. Okay, and you can say, see, I have to keep a note too to remind myself, main Padme hum. Okay, and so I'm going to pull from the Awakening Far Memory reincarnation cards. These cards are spectacular. They're really awesome, and I've mixed them up. There's 4 or 5 different color-coded types of cards, but I just want to see what comes out. Spirit, please guide me with Awakening Far Memory. Of course, we don't want to dwell on the past, which is what we're focusing on. Present lives now, to stay in the now. But in relation to the root chakra, what perhaps is it that the reader or the viewer will want to consider in reconciling past inner energy that could be causing dis-ease or karma. So we want to clear that from our root chakra so we can help open up the additional chakras beyond, above the root chakra in order to heal from dis-ease and be able to better commune with you, Most High, with the crown chakra open and spinning more clearly and in healthy manner. So those are kind of heavy, but so that this one was essentially in my hand, and then this one also, yeah. So and this is not surprising. So this one was in my hand, and this is super important. Creativity, destructiveness. So we know that creativity and creation are, the same, phonetically the same, and the root word, to create is the same. And I dropped the root chakra card, but obviously You know, we're talking about creation. We're talking about the Most High's creations on our planet that are struggling. I've already talked about that. And I've also talked in my other readings about the right brain, left brain imbalance. And when you're creative, you're using the right brain. When you're focused on science, technology, engineering, and math, that's all heavily left brain, linear thinking. And so is the law. So is the alphabet. That's why I recommend you get the book, The Alphabet versus the Goddess. Okay? And it's about image versus linear thinking. Okay? So for the extended, I will type up or tape or record what this card specifically means. And it's also not surprising that this card came out. Okay? So I'll be talking about that more in detail. And you can tell that I already do talk about war quite a bit, as well as creation versus destruction in many of my other readings that I've been talking about and posting for 3 years now, over 3 years. So we have growth card was in the reverse, actually. Okay. So the growth card was in the reverse. When you're destructive, non-creative, and violent, you're, not growing. And that's not good for our planet. Okay? And beneath that is India and Southeast Asia in the reverse. Okay? And behind that is the Trader card in the upright. And behind the Trader is the Alien card in the reverse. So it's not surprising to see the Alien card and the Growth card upside down, and also the India Southeast Asia card upside down. Okay, so I'm not going to get into any of the details on it, but that's just how they were showing up. I am going to analyze it though. Behind the Alien card is this, and this is exactly what I've been suspecting, which is why I've also talked about, the book Power versus Force, the hidden determinants of human behavior, and in relation to the book Alien Mind, the thought and behavior of extraterrestrials. Okay? Behind Laborer is City, and this is why a lot of these religious fanatics and occultists want to force more people into cities where they can be condensed in skyscrapers and Uber controlled. And of course, this reminds me of the Six of Pentacles card that I've talked about in one of my readings too, where the elite will control most of the money on the planet and leave most people begging for food and water. And behind the beggar is the agriculture card, which correlates to what Pam Gregory was saying for the new moon in Scorpio, and in relation to the Uranus and Taurus, the intensity and the escalation of the intense energy around Taurus, trying to get back to his simple life, and even probably an agrarian one, but for the interference of those who want to force more people into cities where they can be more easily controlled. So that's just what I'm intuiting. And water is also upside down. So obviously, food and water are important aspects of this particular concern, where, you know, you need food and water so that you can work, so that you can live, right? But there is an alien agenda on our planet. I'm just going to tell you straight up. Having been a former military spouse, seeing the things I have and experienced what I have, normal human beings don't behave the way that I've seen man decide to behave over time and almost do a 180 in a very short period of time. So obviously this has to do with the war mens rea, or mental state. And that has to do with alien technology that goes back to Hitler, at least, and that we know of, that's documented. But obviously there's more to it than just World War II. Okay, so I'm just going to shuffle and pull out, or see what Spirit provides, and then I'll do the extended, where I talk about the reincarnation cards in relation to, you know, the ones I just showed you in relation to, that's a hopper too. I'll show you this one, but the rest will be for the extended. Are there any other cards? The hopper cards are really important, so you know they're extremely important. Okay, so we have some other cards here. Actually, we have 3 others, but these are the main ones, and then the bottom of the deck. Oh, I am going to show you that. Bottom of the deck is Egypt. Okay, so you watched me shuffle. I didn't make this up. The main card, the first card that came out, is authority figures, which I was just talking about. Okay, and I just have to peek. Yeah, so this gets to the issue of religion and occultism and cults trying to steer people in their lives, in their present lives, into cities and away from growing natural food, you know, in a more agrarian manner and more simple life. So you can see the industrialisms versus agrarian society, and that's pretty much what we're dealing with in terms of this instability, if you will. And of course, the industrialisms are centered about war. Okay. So yeah, there is a card that came out in the pre-shuffle before I sat down to film, and it's showing up as one of these 3 that also came out right after authority figures. Okay. All right, let me see if there was anything else that I wanted to say. Let me grab a charm. Let's see. I may douse over these cards too for the extended, using this pendant that I got in Hawaii when I was trying to troubleshoot what was sounding in my environment, quote unquote, that was troubling me. Okay, so there's one, and I'll have these listed in the extended too. But mainly, believe in yourself and your autonomy and your free, your sovereignty. Okay, and say no. Learn to say no and follow your intuition, your gut instinct over anything else that anybody tells you or expects of you. Because trust me, it's likely going to get more difficult and more challenging. And you're going to have to dig your heels in and become who you are meant to be. Not what other people want to force you to think and force you where to live. I don't know if any other ones come out. Okay, there's another one. And we also got a stone, a crystal. Let's see if any others come out, and then I'll sign off. More than likely, I'm going to type this up, but we'll just see how things go. Okay. And it looks like we have a charm that's also correlating back to card number 3 for its elemental, reading number 1. So again, Egypt is at the bottom of the deck for past lives. So many of us, I know me, I've been dealing with a past life from Egypt. And that's just what I've learned over many, many years, a little tiny bit at a time. So the affirmation, if this Egypt card resonates with you, is I connect to the God force within the Sphinx. Okay. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you for your time. And I'm looking forward to getting into this more. I will also get into this Reincarnation Cards Awakening for Memory booklet and see what it has to say. And these 3 mystery cards here to the right of authority figures, and this card that came out also right after authority figures as well. Namaste.